I want to start this week's episode with a little celebration and shout out from the Business Bravery community. I thought this would be a great way to feature more people, especially those of you in the Facebook group. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. And I just want to give people this feeling like I know I talk to guests and I share my own bravery, but isn't it great to just hear, oh, hey, somebody else is working on this week? And I just think that's an amazing way to kind of keep us all inspired and moving forward and doing our own bravery. So this week I wanted to celebrate the amazing Ina Kidoran, who is an amazing Squarespace website designer. She worked on my website and you can check out her work. And what I want to celebrate about her and what she's doing in her business is at the moment she's working on this VIP day strategy and she's about to raise her rates. So when we met a number of months ago, I think it was the end of last year sometime, she did some work for me on my website in November from memory. And it is March when I'm recording this, and it's going to be April sometime by the time you hear this. So it's just, I really love that she's worked on her VIP day strategy. She started out with a price and now she's raising her rates. And I just love that. And I think that's always something that can help keep us all inspired. And yeah, you can find Ina over at Pink Fig Creative, Pinkfig Creative, all one word, no underscores or anything. Find her over on Instagram at that handle. And if you want the opportunity to be one of these celebrations and shout outs, I would encourage you to join the Facebook group because that is the place where I am finding these. And there might also be a process of like having a form or something that people can fill out so that they can put their hand up and go, I would love to be featured. And yeah, I just let me know what you think of this. I am experimenting with this, but I think it's a great way to just feel this sense of community of, hey, it's not just my guest and me, there's actually other real world people who are doing things and they can inspire us too. So thanks for listening and keep listening to the rest of the podcast episode, please. I'm so used to finishing off with thanks for listening, which sounds like, hey, podcast done. Um, Gosh, that would be such an easy podcast. Hey, somebody's doing something. Done. 2 minutes. All right. Let me stop now. I'm your host, Tiffany Gilliland, an Australian business and mindset coach with 10 years experience in online marketing and the creator of the Business Bravery Framework. I help coaches like you to be brave so you can stop dreaming and start doing that next big brave step and finally make more impact and get more clients. From speaking on camera to selling to launching, my approach to bravery helps you take bigger leaps without the mindset spirals. It's the secret ingredient to bigger results. In this episode, I had the pleasure of chatting with Latoya Clark, who is a dynamic force in the world of social media and podcasting. She is known for her roles as a captivating host and innovative creator. As the visionary CEO and founder of Butterfly Chats Media, Latoya's journey has been significantly shaped by her encounters with healthcare professionals who prioritize profit over patient care. These experiences ignited an unwavering determination within her to create a secure haven where individuals of colour could find solace and valuable resources to navigate the challenging journey of chronic pain. Latoya's advocacy extends beyond healthcare. She recognised a glaring gap in the business world where small businesses owned by individuals with disabilities, regardless of their race, were denied the same opportunities to showcase their talents and promote their enterprises. This inequality directly affected their quality of life, compelling Latoya to champion the cause of business owners from all backgrounds. In a world where both healthcare and business sectors grapple with inequalities, Latoya Clark shines as a passionate agent of change. Her relentless dedication to empowering marginalized communities, whether in the pursuit of health or economic prosperity, is a powerful testament to her enduring commitment to equity and social justice. With that said, this is an amazing episode, and I can't wait to share with you Latoya's stories of business bravery, past, present, and future. Now, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. Okay, hi everyone. I am here with the amazing Latoya Clark, who I have met recently online. We were introduced through mutual friends, and now I'm just so excited to sit down with her and hear all about the brave things that she is doing in her business, past, present, and future. And rather than me mangle up what she's doing, I'll let her tell us what she's doing in her own words so that I don't mangle it all up. Latoya, thank you so much for being here and taking some time to share your bravery stories and inspire other coaches and other service-based providers and things like that. Service-based business owners, that's the phrase I was looking for. It's Monday morning here as I'm recording in Australia, and I'm waking up. We're all good.
Oh,
So, Latoya, tell us about you and your business and what brave things you're doing now.
okay. Well, thank you very much for inviting me into your space. I definitely appreciate it. And like you said, I am Latoya. I'm the owner of Butterfly Chats Media, which is a social media management company. It was born out of necessity for me, as I'm a chronic illness warrior, as I like to say, thriver. And it all of this really started from an audio journal that I was using to document my chronic pain. It started with that, and the audio journal grew into a podcast, and then the podcast grew into support groups, and then the support groups grew into me realizing that there are so many amazing chronically ill entrepreneurs out there who need a platform. They need a space that is sensitive to our unique needs, which is additional time, additional compassion, and as far as the additional time lengths and schedules. And there are no, or I at least couldn't find a service-based business that catered to those things. With chronic pain, you're up at all hours of the night, and you need someone that can understand that. So that's where Butterfly Chats Media came from, and of course, it also grew from the fact that with me having chronic illness, I had to find other ways to find income. I tried for years to continue to work, and I worked okay successfully from working from home for a couple of years. But then, as chronic illness mostly does, it takes little chunks of your life bit by bit. And even working from home became hard, as far as working for a company that has their own KPIs. So it just kind of grew into this thing. And I decided that, I would be the place, I would be the community that my community needed. So that's what we're here.
Oh man, like this, I love what you're doing, and this is a subject that's really close to my heart just because I've had my own dealings with chronic pain for decades. And yeah, it's a big part of me building my business, and also a big part of me in some ways struggling to grow my own business just because of the whole thoughts and feelings around, oh, I can't can I take on more clients, and what if I have a pain flare up and I don't want to let them down and things like that. And even like years ago, like I was like, I would talk about how like I was, I need more time and I would be slower than other people and things like that, but I wouldn't necessarily say I have chronic pain, everyone. Like and it wasn't until I met you actually and saw what you're doing, and I was like, actually, you know what? I can talk about this more. I can be brave and talk about this more. So I just want to, I'm so glad that I met you, and, I'm coming kind of late to the party, but I'm here. And I'm talking about these things. And I love how brave it was of you to say, I can't find what I'm looking for, so I'm going to create it. What did that take for you in terms of being brave, or like what thoughts came up around you trying to do that? Was there some thoughts around maybe I shouldn't, or anything like that?
It took and still is taking a lot of faith. It takes a lot of me talking to myself because there's a lot of fear around that. It's a lot of fear because, as you know, living with a chronic illness in itself is challenging. It's a whole beast. But then if you're going to take that and then you're going to talk about, oh, I'm going to leave, yes, this job, you know, it's here. It's concrete. You know, you may have your problems and you're dealing with coming in late, not being able to get back from break on time, all those little things that you have with jobs, but it's there, you know, but you're gonna leave that to start this thing. That, I mean, it's like from scratch, like there's no money there, and like it seems insane. But most good ideas are, you know, and honestly, it just really for me just took a lot of faith and knowing that someone has to do it. And at the very least, you know, I was like, well, if I can help one person, then great. That's what I'm here for. And yes, I do want to help myself, clearly. Like, I mean, just be real about it. Because I'm trying to find a way to support myself and be as independent as possible. And it's that endeavor of trying to find that independence. But in that walk, you find so many people like yourself. Like, you know, I just, you know, and I had those same thoughts you had as far as, well, do I mention the fact that I'm chronically ill? Like when I'm, you know, reaching out to potential clients, like, are they going to have a preconceived bias that, well, do I want to deal with someone who is sick? Like, because ableism is out there. It's real. It's a thing, you know, and so I run into that question a lot, even now. But I also find that if it doesn't get put out there, then people can't get used to the idea, because there are so many entrepreneurs that have some level of chronic illness, whether it be you recovering from breast cancer, whether it be you recovering from, you know, sickle cell flare, or any type of serious illness that would leave you otherwise impaired. You know, all of those things encompasses chronic illness in one way or another. And all of those people deserve a chance to be just as successful as the Amazons, as the everybody else's. But it's very hard to do that. And I mean, and I'm still trying to find like the words as far as to answer the question as far as where I found the bravery. And I just go back on, it's just a faith. It's just like one of those one of those understood subjects kind of thing. Go back to grade school. You know, it's just like, I don't know if this is a good idea, but it feels like the right idea.
And exactly. It's like, I so get that. It's just like when you get that thing inside you and it's just like, this just feels right. Like that's what I've had around different elements of my business at times. Like, even though I'd have someone, you know, like I've had people who like, you shouldn't be running a podcast, you should be focusing on clients and things like that. And I'm just like, no, I'm sorry. This just like, it's I don't know, it sounds so cliched, but it's like a calling, or just there's something inside me that just knows that this is going to help people, and it, you know, it helps me while doing it. And I'm sure you feel that way too.
So, it does. I mean, because, and one thing is like, because with chronic illness, it's the fatigue, it's the depression, it's the, you know, however it manifests for you. But it also, but one thing that is consistent is that it takes away your independence. And it causes you to draw in. And that, you know, like I said, that calling, that drive, you know, the getting up to do a podcast, you know, that is an activity. That's something that we can hope for, and something we have to look forward to. And when you're dealing with illness that either has no name or was just named, or, you know, a doctor's like, not sure what that is, but you won't die from it, I don't think. All that stuff going on. A little
Yeah.
bit of hope is like,
Mm.
oh, let me get more of that.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's like, as much as we also want to help others, it is for us, because
Mm.
it's that thing that we have to look for. And it's an activity, it's keeping our brains going, it's keeping our
Yeah.
bodies going, it's
Mm.
giving us a reason to comb our hair that day, maybe take a shower that week. I mean,
Mm.
it
Yeah.
it encompasses so many micro behaviors that the
Mm.
typical healthy person really
Mm.
doesn't think twice about.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually just sort of talking about that too, the typical healthy person, or I don't know, like that kind of thing. Just like for me, years ago when I was starting my business, it's just like all of the business, like, advice and everything, and all of the coaches and even some coaches I worked with, they're just like, oh yeah, you've just got to work harder. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, actually, if I work harder, then that's more likely to trigger a pain flare up, or or chronic illness symptoms. And
Yeah.
yeah, and like for me, like I've just had to find ways to, I don't know, it sounds so cliched, but work smarter, just, find ways to do more with less time, balance
Hmm.
my energy, not overdo it, and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, what's been your approach to some of that kind of thing? Like, what's helped you?
So definitely learning how to pace, and learning what pacing feels best for me.
Mm.
Because your level of pacing may not be my level of pacing.
Yeah.
And honestly, which was really hard in the beginning,
Mm.
learning to say no.
Yeah.
Like, I have always been a people pleaser, and I'm kind of now in recovery from it. That like saying no to some people like actually will not kill them. Like they will live again. So everything doesn't have to be done by me.
Mm.
So being able to prioritize and realize that not everything has to be done, and if it doesn't have to be done by me, and it doesn't have to be done right then.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, and powerful lessons in that. I mean, I know for me, like you, I'm also a recovering people pleaser. And remember the first time I had to, like when I was really something, my people pleasing self wanted to say yes, but there was a part of me that was like, no, 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 it's time to say
Yes.
no. And I'm writing this message, and I'm like physically shaking while I write the message. Like, what
It's
is
so
this?
hard
Other people have no problems just saying no. They say no to me all the time, and
all
I
the time.
accept it.
I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Sleep perfectly fine at night.
Yeah. They
Me, I'm
won't
all
think
up at night,
twice.
like, are they
Yeah.
angry with me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
like,
gosh. It's so crazy the
mhm,
way our brains are around that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. And like, I don't know about you, but for me, like with my business, I had a lot of thoughts around, oh, well, other people can do it. I should be able to do it too, and just, like, I mean, you look at your calendar and it's like there's all of this blank space, and it's like, oh, I could fill it up with tasks and
Hmm.
things. But then it's like I had to learn the hard way that when I do all that, then the next day
Yeah,
I do nothing because,
exactly. Or
yeah,
the next couple of days, you do
yeah,
nothing.
yes.
Yeah. And I know, for my times in therapy,
Mm.
it's like you, because you said you look at your calendar, and you said you should be able to do things. My
Mm.
therapist is like, she's like, be careful not to should all over yourself.
Yeah,
And I was constantly shitting all over
yes,
myself, because that's judgment, basically is what she was saying. Like,
yeah.
just because there's blank space on your calendar, that
Mm.
doesn't mean it has to be filled up with something, especially when you're dealing with chronic fatigue or pain or whatever it
Mm.
is you're dealing with. Like, it
Yeah,
is okay to rest. And,
yeah.
and even as I say that, like, I do still deal with that sometimes, where I mean, like, even last week, completely overbooked myself on this day. I don't
Mm.
know what type of fit I had, but I was going through my calendar and I'm looking at it and I'm like, who did this? Because like there was like, I mean, there was a space in every single hour. I either had physical therapy, a doctor's appointment, a podcast interview, or something scheduled throughout the entire day.
Oof. Yeah.
And I'm like, what happened? And again, it's like clearly my brain was
Mm.
like there's not enough time or speed to get you from this place to that place in this amount of time. I mean, there
Yeah.
physically, if you were healthy, you could not do this. So why are you freaking out about rescheduling or moving things? But I was literally like you were
Yeah.
shaking about sending the message. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
sitting there looking at the calendar like, I don't want to reschedule. I don't want to like disappoint them. I don't want them to think I'm, unreliable. And I'm like, but you made a mistake.
Mm.
And it's like, if you think you can't, it's like, just own up to it. And of course, I mean, I had to. And of
Yeah.
course, they were like, oh, no problem. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, really? But it's
Oh.
just, these learned behaviors that,
Mm.
when you're chronically ill, you have to learn quick.
Mm.
Or
Yeah.
if you don't learn quick, you will pay for
Mm.
it. You will definitely
Yes.
pay for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just having to, take ownership of that and be like, look, I cannot do that.
Mm.
It's not. But again, it's not easy. But all of those things are tools that you have to use, when you're building a business.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I'm even though it freaked me out, I'm thankful I had to do it and kind of flex that muscle, but it did freak me out quite a bit.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I still get that. Even like at the moment, I've got a situation with my mother who I'm caring for and that kind of thing. And I had to reschedule some things, and it wasn't because like I couldn't do it. It's just like I couldn't support her and support them at the same
Yeah.
time, and
And those things
yeah.
happen. I mean, and
Mm. Yeah.
it is terrifying when because you want to keep your commitments,
Mm.
both, and especially when you're dealing with family. I mean, of
Mm.
course, the
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
like obviously, and like, you do that, like when those things happen, it's kind of like, those things kind of trump whatever you had planned,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, that doesn't mean you don't have those feelings of like, now I've
Yeah.
got to make that call. Like,
Yeah.
hi you. I know you
Yeah.
had all things planned, but yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's like, I get it. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
it's a flex. So it's a flex of the muscle you have to learn to kind of work it,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, like even for clients I've worked with who don't have chronic pain but there's always something that's like family stuff. There's always where you've got to be able to, I don't know, be brave and be the leader of your own life and go, here's
Mm-hmm.
what I can do, here's what I can't do, here's where I'm
Yeah,
saying no. Yeah.
exactly. And being, I know for me, like learning to have that clear in your mind first, it will help because I'm just now getting to that point to where
Mm,
I'm actually, getting clear on, you know, what where I want my business to go.
mm,
And then knowing where I want my business to go, that will help me plan out what
mm,
I need to do and what like I actually have to keep. And even if family stuff comes up, I
mm.
may have to kind of like, squeeze them in, or, you just kind of
Yeah.
have to wiggle things around.
Yeah.
But definitely, you know, being clear about where you are will definitely help you make those choices
Mm,
better.
yeah. Oh wow. So I'd love to ask you about like what brave things are you doing in your business at the moment?
Right now, I am hosting a event that that last year I had a little more support. I was doing it, in conjunction with other entrepreneurs. But this year there's another conference that's going on not well kind of at the same time. So that's happening, and we're saying we had to kind of make choices, right? So they're doing that conference, and I actually did this event and that conference last year, but I was also in a different place in my business last year. So this year I decided to hold the event on. It's great. It's going great. Everything's moving perfectly. And honestly, it's like, and I refer to my therapist a lot because she's like a huge help.
Yeah.
Because if I look at it just straightly through my eyes, I'm freaking out. Like, what am I doing? Because I have all these grand goals that I want, X amount of, clicks, and I want this many registrations. But then she has to, she breaks it down. She's like, well, compared to last year, how is it going now compared to last year? I'm like, oh, well, it's way better than, because it's more structured this year. Okay. And so the event is the Chronic Pain Sunday event. And so it's an event that we created for chronically ill entrepreneurs and small business. So that's kind of the difference this year, is that I opened it up to more than just chronically ill entrepreneurs, because really any small business, whether you have a chronic illness or not, because the thing is, there's the caregivers, there's the family, and so I just opened it up to, any small business, people with a side hustle, if you do tumblers, t-shirts, what have you. So that's what the event is for. I opened it up so that we can start raising money, so that we can start supporting chronically ill patients in 2024. I want to start doing, support drives and backpack drives for families with children next year. And so that's why I decided to go ahead and run the event this year, so that I can kind of start filling the coffers for next year. So the event is November 19th, which the registration is going to close on the 17th. And we still have a couple of spots still open. So you can definitely, go to, I'm going to give you a link, and people can go to the link and register. If they want to join as a vendor. But we also still need shoppers, plenty of room for shoppers. The shopper passes are completely free. And, you still go to the link, get your shopper passes, and you can come in, and we're going to have service-based businesses. We're going to have, product-based businesses. We're going to have speakers, podcasts, all types of people, showcasing their business, what they are offering. So it's going to be a pretty cool event.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when you first told me about this, and I was just like, oh, wow, definitely, I'm so glad I came across this, and, I'm glad I'm going to be a part of it too. And
exactly. Yeah.
I just really excited for this sort of thing, because it's just like, oh man, if I'd have come across this years ago, of course, I wasn't in a place where I was looking for this. I was a bit busy hiding, I suppose. So then this wouldn't have come up on my radar. But now,
and I wasn't either. Yeah, because last year, and it went really well. Last year, it happened very kind of last minute. It was me and 2 or 3 other small business owners. We were in our support group, and we were just kind of having a conversation, about having our Black Friday sales. And we were having, a hard time, finding platforms to promote it and getting people to click the links, and, just having small business problems, And so that's kind of how the event came up last year. And it was end of October when we were talking about it. And I was like, well, why don't we just do it together? It
Yeah.
was, because we had one business who was like all craftsy. Like
Mm.
she did all these handmade crafts. She made craft sets. She made coloring books. She made T-shirts, hats. It was amazing.
Mm.
And then the other business owner, when me and her did a podcast together during the event, and then we each had like our own merch for the event. And
Mm.
so it still worked out. It was, like we pulled it together in like 2 months, and it
Mm.
was pretty good for it to come out, so short.
Mm.
But I figured this year, give me a little more
Mm.
time,
Mm.
and maybe come out a little bit better. So I just
Yeah.
wasn't expecting to do it by myself. So that was
Mm.
definitely the bravest thing I've done so far, and it, I get a little gun shy, like, okay, but you're doing it, like,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
I'm just like, just keep going, you're fine, you're not gonna die,
One step at a time. Yeah.
exactly. It's just like, it's fine.
Yeah. So as part of running this event then, excuse me, and considering what you said previously about having to say no to things, did you find, like, what did you have to say no to
Oh
do this stuff?
gosh,
Yeah.
yes, because I initially, because I thought that I really thought that it would be a simple process, and I could still kind of keep my podcast going and keep posting like I've been doing, so, and like even like posting, on my social media, and even with my support groups, and I run a blog with my
Mm.
website. So I was like, oh, it's no problem. I can just add that to do that on one day. Not to
Everything I'm
and
already doing, plus
yeah,
an extra 20 hours a week of work. Yeah.
exactly. And I'm writing a novel. So so it's like, just one more thing, you
Yeah.
know. So I quickly became overwhelmed, very quickly. I tried to have the calendar, like, on this day I'm going to do this, on this day I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot how technology works, and technology is technology, and so, the time frame I had for, doing the storefronts, and then
Mm.
technology would crash. I'm like,
Mm.
I don't have time for you to crash. I'm on a time limit technology,
Oh my God.
So that's when I'm like, aha, got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely had to, kind of go a little bit of hiatus with my podcast,
Okay.
which is fine because this is about the time of year that I do that anyway. And you know, I went kind of put my blog, kind of on the back burner right now,
Mm.
and really just kind of focusing on, really pushing the event, getting the word out there, and making sure as many businesses know about it so that they can have the opportunity to join. So
Mm.
definitely having to, prioritize and, put, the business first, and making sure that you guys are supported, and that I get you guys a storefront set up, and everything is the way you guys need it, and all that kind of stuff. Because I do get a little bit, I have a little bit of perfectionism in me, just a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh my God, I want it to be so perfect, you know. So definitely having to learn that, it's okay, to put the immediate things, the big thing, up
Mm.
ahead, and then once it's over, then we can go back to,
Mm.
business as usual.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Was it hard for you to say no to putting the podcast out, or did it just become this thing of like, if this is going to work, things have to drop off? Or was, especially with your perfectionist side, was it?
It was hard, and it was hard, and I laughed because I just recorded a podcast episode a couple days ago, because it's like, like, you got a couple out. So it was hard, but
Mm.
because of the fact that I know that, because I want to make sure everything goes well, as well as possible with the event. I was like, it will be fine. Like, the podcast is my baby, and it does what I say.
Mm.
So it will be okay.
Yeah.
My followers are understanding, and most of them are in the support group anyway, and so most of them already know what I'm
Yeah.
doing as far
Yeah.
as the event, so they get it. You
Mm.
know, and I'm still posting, and keeping them up, up to date, with on my social media page. So they're still getting their support that way. So it's not like they're totally on their own, and they can always reach out to me, via the instant messengers. So they can still get to me, if they need some like in the moment help. So it's not like I'm just totally on the island. So in that respect, it's easier now. Just like, it's fine. Just take the break, focus on the event, get that taken care of. And then, on the 20th, take a nice long nap. And then just get ready for Christmas. Let's do it. So yeah, it is getting easier. And then as I am just growing in my business and learning that you're gonna have to learn to prioritize. It's just what you're gonna have to do.
Yeah. And I mean, you do like service-based work for other entrepreneurs as well. So like how's it been dealing with the clients as well as doing all of this stuff, and how's that been?
It's been pretty good because I've also started advertising and doing gigs on Fiverr. So again, but it's and really, doing that is pretty much just using Fiverr is just like another advertising platform for me. But and my clients, they're most of the time I do things either by project time, where there's only a certain amount, like the project only lasts for a certain amount of time, like a week or 2 weeks or what have you, or it's just like it's a gig time. Like I do it, do one page. I set up one social media page, and it takes me like 7 days to set it up and get all the things automated, and then everything runs on schedule. So once I get the scheduling set up, then at that point, it's just me checking to make sure all the scheduling is up to date. And depending on the package, and if they have like evergreen posts, which is like posts that can be recycled, I'll just plug in some recyclable posts. And so once I get everything set up, it's pretty much automated at that point. So it's mostly like, the upfront work is what really kind of takes the time.
Okay.
So yeah, once that's done, it pretty much runs like clockwork.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So then I guess you get to decide, okay, now's not the time to take that upfront stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then usually, like, I try not, because I used to, and very recently, would just like, take clients like all the time, like just as they come.
Okay.
But now I'm kind of getting to a point where I am learning and figuring out like exactly how many clients I can handle at one given time. And I'm just like, I'm taking the clients based off of, the job they're needing, my capacity to handle that job at the time, and whether or not I can get it done in the time frame that they need. And then once I've met that quota as far as my capacity, I kind of stop taking clients for that amount of time.
Yeah.
And then I'll open back up, taking applications, and either put them on a wait list or start advertising again once it gets close to that project ending.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so I'd love to sort of go back to, excuse me, when you first started your podcast, or maybe when you first started getting your paying clients, because I'm guessing the podcast came first and then the paying clients came later, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So just in terms of, just for those people who are just starting in their businesses and things like that, like, not sure where you want to dive into, but just sort of like the brave things that you had to do to start the podcast, to get your first paying clients, like just to help those people. Yeah.
So when it comes to starting the podcast, I first had to realize that what I was going through wasn't just me. And it was not something that was unique to me. And what I was experiencing and the things I was doing and learning to either get through it or find, or if I found something that relieved it, if that miracle thing happens, could actually help somebody. Because I was definitely, raised up, in the good old South, where you keep your problems to yourself. Keep your business inside the house and don't be telling everybody your business. But when it comes to chronic health and chronic pain, you need to tell somebody. And once I started sharing what I was going through, for one, I was really surprised how much it helped me. Like just speaking my pain. I don't know if it was just me hearing it back, and getting it out of my head, but me getting it out and then seeing and hearing the feedback that I was getting, people, either saying that they've gone through it or they've known someone that is going through it. And, realizing that there is a community out there of people who actually do understand and that do get it. That, taking that leap of just opening my mouth and being like, hi, I'm Latoya, and this life sucks. This is what's happening to me. That was very hard. And even now, sometimes it's really hard, because, it, chronic health, it's, advanced and some things are going on. And even now, it's just like, I just don't want to talk about it. I feel like I'm whining, but every time I make that step and I, tell or, record a video and say, you know what, this is what happens at the doctor this time. And, it's horrible. They did me wrong and I feel bad about it, and I get all that feedback from people who's like, you know what, I get it. Or that happened to me too. This is what I did, and it's like that back and forth. It always, and why it always surprises me, I don't know, but it always surprises me at how much better it makes me feel. So I really don't know why I still fight it, but I do. But it is always a decision I have to purposely make, to be like, you need to share it so that other people can understand that they're not by themselves out there. You're not on an island, and there's a way out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're not on an island.
I only got finished answering your question. So when from there, from that point, it was not a straight point. It was not a straight point from making the decision to start talking about my pain and getting to the point of getting my first paid client. It was not a straight shot. Because I'm very, very much so stubborn. And I lived 30 years of life as a perfectly healthy person. Pastry chef, living my best life. Not a problem in the world. Barely got sick. And then now all of a sudden, I can barely leave the house. I can barely get out of the bed, can barely make it to the bathroom. Like, it's just, what are we talking about? Like, huh? I caught pneumonia, and now all of a sudden I'm what now? It's like, what are we saying? So, but it took a lot of stumbles, and it took several purposeful decisions to decide I am in a place I don't want to be in. But I know that I don't have to stay here. Like, it's okay to feel the feelings, and it's okay to be like, I'm gonna mope right here for a couple days, maybe a week.
Yeah.
Probably. But at some point, you're gonna have to pivot, because there is still a life out there.
Yeah.
Like I said, I am currently in a phase of challenging myself, because I find myself saying I used to be a pastry chef. And the thing is, I still am.
Yeah.
I still have all the skills that I learned in culinary. I can still do that. Now, I may not can still physically stand and, throw baguettes across the kitchen, but I can, get in a chair and, or, have someone help me make this thing. So I just have to find a different way to do the thing I love.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to your first paying client. So that's the path you have to find. I can't necessarily describe for any other person what that path is going to look like.
Oh yeah.
But what I can tell you is, you're going to have to get to a point, and that point is going to be different for everybody. But you're going to have to find the point. You're going to have to find where that point is. And you're going to have to decide that you are ready to get up. And you may not ever get to the place you were, but you can get to a place that's better. And you can make a life. It may be different than what you anticipated, because trust me, me sitting here with ring lights and makeup, and like, I'm supposed to be in the back of a kitchen covered in flour, no one's seeing me, or someone being like, my great, condolences to the chef, tell the chef, great job, like, no one's supposed to ever know who me, no one's supposed to ever see me.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be your, stereotypical behind the scenes chick. That's who I'm supposed to be. But hello.
Life had other plans.
Yeah, hello. Like, I'm buying makeup on a regular basis. What? How are we doing that? So I thought I was going to help people by making nice, tasty, dietary specialty foods, which I can still do that. That is still a dream that I have, and I will get there somehow. Somehow I will have a bakery, and I will be able to make dietary specialty foods for people with chronic illness and IBSD and all the things. But for right now, I'm helping people find a different way to live their best life. And that's it. That's it. I answered any of the question.
Oh man, sorry, I'm just feeling the chills of just like, oh man, how just
any of the question, but that's what I got.
Yeah, no. Hey, I'm happy to go to all these places. And I mean, like, for my own experience, like, my chronic pain started for me when I was 18. So for me, like, the decisions, like, it's just interesting how it's like your life, you thought it was going one direction, then all of a sudden it had to change. Whereas for me, been a lot of little decisions of, oh yeah, I probably won't be in a job where I'm on my feet all day. So it's like a whole bunch of professions not even considered, so it's just like, office job it is then, and some of that stuff. It's like, not until I'm talking to you now do I even realize how I've made these little decisions just because of, the pain and that kind of thing. Like, it started small. It was a bit easier when I was younger, and now that I'm older, it's a whole new ball game. But it's just
and I think because it happens so subtly that it's not, and like for me, like, my chronic illness came so quick. Like, I think I think for me, I was probably sick
Mm.
a long time before I knew it,
Ooh,
because
wow.
I had tumors in my
Mm.
abdomen that no one knew about.
Oh, no.
That they decided to like show up
Mm.
and wreck my life.
Yeah.
You know, so once they were found and like they started fooling around with them, trying to get them out,
Yeah.
it was like, after the first surgery, that's,
Mm.
it was like,
Yeah.
and it was, chaos after that, you know. So yeah, but even after that, I still had every intention of getting back to my life. I'm
Mm.
like, because people, it's like you don't you don't wake up thinking, or you don't even grow up thinking that, what, I'm gonna be chronically ill one day.
No.
Because even when you get sick, you're like, you take some medicine, you rest for a little while,
Yeah.
and you get back to it.
Yeah.
That's what medicine is for. That's what doctors are for. That's what
Mm.
happens.
Yeah.
Even if you have to go in the hospital, you go in the hospital for a little while,
Mm.
and you do whatever it is they do, and then they
Yeah.
send you back into your life.
Yeah.
But chronic illness is
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
something else,
Yes.
and no one ever thinks about it. I mean, why would you? Like, what? I
Mm.
mean, so yeah, it causes you to really kind of like mind mold your whole life,
Mm.
and you have to just start from scratch.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, it's so true, isn't it? Because when I was growing up and everything, like everything on television and all that, it's just like it's all people like, they don't have to deal, like nobody's talking about, oh, hey, I can't do that because I've got pain or anything like that. It's just
Mhm.
we have this bias towards telling the easy stories, telling the good
Mhm.
stories, not
Yeah.
talking about, yeah, like especially kind of, those of us who may be a little bit older as well, just like, oh yeah, don't talk about that stuff, and just sort of
Yeah.
keep it up behind
The feel
closed
good
doors.
stories, because that, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, it's not fun. I mean,
Mm,
it's not
yeah,
good. I
yeah,
mean, but it's
mm,
it's a lot of people's reality though.
yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, kind of just seeing that now with what my mother's going through, and like, she's having her own chronic pain now, and she's like, oh, now I kind of understand a little bit more
Yeah.
about what you've been going through all these years, and just like, she's like, how did you live with this? And just
Right.
like,
I
yeah,
mean, you never, it could
yeah,
be, I mean, you're one fall, you're one trip, you're one car accident away. And it's like,
yeah, yeah,
but yeah.
mm, yeah. Okay, so I'd love to know, what brave things do you have coming up in the future, other than, I know like in the next week you've got the Chronic Pain
Yeah.
Sunday,
Yeah.
but there's
Yeah.
also, you said you're working on a novel. What
I
else
am.
have you got? Like, tell us about that.
I'm working on a novel. It's called Iron Butterfly.
Mm,
So it is based on my diagnosis story. It's a fictional based story, but the heroine,
yeah.
is faced with the decisions, that I was faced with becoming chronically ill. So that will be out in end of January, 1st of February of 2024. And it was supposed to come out in October of this year. However, life, I mean, I lost my father in August, so
Mhm. Yeah.
that put a kibosh on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then after my father passed, that actually caused a couple of chapters in the book to kind of take a turn. And even then, there's there since it's based on my chronic pain diagnosis story, there's some chapters that were really hard to write. I mean, there's a chapter in there where I was still trying to work. I was, still probably a year or two after the first couple of surgeries, and I was in the kitchen still trying to, be a pastry chef. and I was dizzy. I passed out at work, fainted, and the supervisors, I don't know why they thought I would be faking it, but I was right before I totally lost consciousness. They're like, she's just trying to get out of work. And they stepped over me and left me there.
Oh my gosh.
And the next thing I remember is the security guard was coming in the office, and they like lifted me into a wheelchair and took me to the ER.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then I woke up and the doctor was like, you tried to leave us, huh? So once they realized that, oh, she wasn't playing,
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, how are you? I'm like, oh yeah, right. Now you care.
Oh
you
man.
know, so
Yeah.
that's trying to, navigate that story without, like actually reliving the whole thing all over again.
Mm.
So just a couple of chapters that were hard. So I kind of had to step back and take a break, and
Mm.
the I don't, because you hear people saying, I'm writing a novel, I'm writing a book, novels and novel stories based on your life is tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you get into the muck of like the seriousness, like the mental toll, I was not expecting that. I really
Yeah.
didn't. I
Yeah.
honestly thought it was just a simple process of, oh yeah, I remember that. I'm gonna put the words on paper. No problem. Type, 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 type.
Yeah.
Send,
Yeah.
but it's I mean, there was one time I like had a full-on panic attack when I was
Mm.
writing one. Like, what is happening to me right now?
Mm.
You know? So yeah, just be warned. If you feel the urge to write a story about your life, just,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah, I mean, especially when it comes to novels too, because you want the reader to feel the
Ex-
feelings so they connect with
exactly.
the story. And if you're
Uh-huh.
going to put that on paper, that means you've got to be, you have to connect with it first yourself and
Mm-hmm.
probably connect to all that
Yeah.
stuff.
And that,
And
yeah. And there was definitely some stuff where I was like, because I was, writing some parts of it, and where I was not being as connected, because there was the feelings where, that certain parts of my life, I was like, when I left that part of my life, I'm like, I left it.
yeah,
This is like in the vault, locked away behind the gargoyles. I
yeah.
will never see you again. Goodbye. you know, and some of those parts were around that area, and I was like, and like me, like, my mom was like, you're gonna have to kind of put that in there. I'm like, no, I'm not. I do not have to do it. I do not have to put that in there.
Mm.
And so I'm reading that. I'm reading it without that in there, and like my mind is like, you're gonna have to open it up. Like, no, I'm not. No, I am not.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I opened it up, because I mean, it read kind of flat. Even I was like, that's kind of boring. Now it's my life. And I'm like, that's a bore.
Oh,
But yeah, so if you really have the heart to write a really good story,
mm.
yeah, you're gonna have to get in it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have parts of your story where maybe you don't remember it so well? Like, I know for me, like there was a period of my life, like 12 months, where I could barely walk and
Mm-hmm.
I was in a lot of pain, and it's like the painkillers were just taking the edge
Mm-hmm.
off and that kind of stuff. And like like for me, it's like three flashes in my brain, but for everyone
Mm-hmm.
else, it's like
It's
12
a
months of my
whole
life.
whole life.
To put it with me being the worst part of worst person in the world, to be honest. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, like do you have parts where you
There
don't
have been
remember?
parts. And yeah, there have been parts where, I had to go back and ask some people, about like, well, so like how did you feel about that time? And what did you observe? And I'm
Yeah.
like, that happened for real? Like, really? But okay.
Yeah.
So it is amazing how the brain tries to protect you. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, yeah, you lived through that. Let's just wipe that part. you
Yeah.
know? And so Yeah, I also learned too that, if something, is just really too much for you, there's, a thing called creative license.
Yeah.
you know, you can,
Yeah.
not 100% true to life, you
Yeah.
know.
Inspired
So
by true events. Yeah.
exactly. So I have had to do that in some parts. Like, you know what? This is how I wish this part had gone. If I had the magic wand. So this is what would have happened.
Yeah.
you know. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, oh, man, thank you so much for all of your stories of bravery today. Like, it's just amazing to hear you diving into all of this stuff with the book and the event that you have going on, the podcast, all of that amazing stuff, and your business and clients and all that sort of thing. So thank you so much for all of your time today. There of course be information in the show notes, but for those people who are like me and it's like, I don't want to look at the show notes, I'm just gonna go to Instagram right now. Like, where should
Right.
people do you? Yeah.
Well, you can see all of the day-to-day highlights on my TikTok at Butterfly Chats Media on TikTok and on Instagram. You can go if you want to join the support group. You can go to Facebook at Butterfly Chats with an S. If you want to see more in depth of my business information, you can go to Facebook at Butterfly Chats Media. And the podcast is also called Butterfly Chats. It's on Spotify and Amazon Music. You can download the last 3 seasons, and it's there now for you to catch up on. And we'll be back with full episodes in January.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much for all
Mhm.
of your time today, Latoya. I really appreciate it. And yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you again for inviting me to your space.
Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's TIFFANY. G for golf, STUDIOS, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.